3rd, 2020. Invite you to stand if you choose. We'll offer invocation, then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, as we gather again today, we ask for your guidance and wisdom as we consider the issues that come before this community. Thank you for all that you've given to us, and thank you that we get to live in such a wonderful town and state and nation. Lord, we praise you for who you are, and thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Commissioner Perigin. Here. Commissioner Beasley Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Denning.
Here.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Here. Do we have any awards or recognitions this evening? Anyone? We'll make an announcement that if you'd like to see a very wonderful assistant NAIA college basketball coach who's related to someone on the board, he'll be playing at the Mid-South Conference NAIA basketball championships this weekend at Bowling Green High School. The Mid-South Conference has chosen Bowling Green to be their official site for all of their conference sports tournaments, and that's 21 colleges and universities in the Southeast. And we wish Darius a good run.
Is that my grandson you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Campbellsville
University. All right. Mr. Mizel, you have any comments for us this evening?
I do, Mayor, if you don't mind. I'd like to commend our fleet division. They recently received notification that they will be able to do warranty work for Chrysler and Dodge. And so all of our Dodge police cruisers that we have, which several, that will be able to do our own warranty work in-house, won't have to send those off. And so I'd like to congratulate them and commend them for the good work they do and getting the certification to do that. Secondly, there'll be a need for closed session, and Ashley will read the reasons.
Pursuant to KRS 61.810(1)B for discussion about the sale of real property by the city, as publicity would likely affect the value of the specific piece of property to be sold, and C for discussion of pending litigation against the city.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Perigin, second by Nash. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Need approval of the minutes for our regular meeting on February 18th, 2020.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Beasley Brown, second by Nash. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. First items we have here are municipal orders, which only require one reading and votes for Municipal Order 2020, number 23.
Municipal order approving the career path advancement of Isaac Keene to the position of Operations Technician 1 in the Public Works Department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Perigin, second by Denning. Mr. Mizel.
I'd like to ask Greg Meredith, our Public Works Director, to come up and make this recommendation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Mizel. It's my pleasure today to be able to recommend the career path advancement of Mr. Isaac Keene from his current Laborer 2 position to the position of OMT 1 with Public Works Operation. According to our OMT manual, a Laborer 2 with 6 months of experience and the successful attainment of his Class A CDL license is eligible to become an OMT 1. Additionally, his job performance and willingness to learn have been exceptional, and we really appreciate Isaac. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it here today with us. He's been with the city now for a little over 6 months. He came to us from Warren County Parks, where he worked for 3 years. So he was hired on, again, September the 3rd, and his promotion will go into effect immediately. With that, again, it's my pleasure to recommend him for that promotion. I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, please extend Isaac our congratulations. Municipal Order 2020, number 24.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2020-30 for Moss Middle School Greenway construction from Scotty's Contracting and Stone LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the amount of $193,401.06.
So moved.
Motion by Beasley Brown, second by Nash. Mr. Mizel.
City received TAP grant funding from the state for this project. It's a greenway path that goes from Creekwood Avenue originally to the behind the Moss Middle School, but since then Jennings Creek Elementary's been built, so we're going to go ahead and extend it all the way to Jennings Creek Elementary. Public Works went out for bids, and we received 6. 3, though, were determined non-responsive, so we had to refuse those, but we do have a good bid of $193,401 from Scotty's Contracting and Stone. Funds are available through the grant funding, and I believe it came in under budget of what the grant funds were. So we are ready to go on this and requesting your permission to accept the bid from Scotty's for $193,401. And Greg Meredith is here, along with Nick Cook. I'd like to thank Nick for working on this grant once again, getting this in place. And Greg's here, can answer any questions you have about the project itself.
Comments or questions? Call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020, number 25.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2020-39 for the Neighborhood Roundabouts Project from Scotty's Contracting and Stone LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the amount of $365,679.03.
So moved.
Second.
Perigin, second by Nash. Mr. Mizel.
There's been just a little bit of chatter the last couple days about roundabouts in Bowling Green. We do already have 1 in place, 1 in progress, and 4 on the way. 3 of these are before you tonight. These 3 are in a neighborhood, or neighborhoods, Parkside Drive and Cove Drive and North Sunrise, along with Crossings and Chasefield Avenue. So these are 3 planned roundabouts to ease traffic as we planned during our FY20 budgets. These were all approved during budget time. We went out for bid. We got 2 bids, 1 from Scotty's, 1 from Charles DeWeese, and the low bid came in at $365,679 from Scotty's Contracting and Stone. And I think we have a tentative completion date to get these 3 done by the end of June. And again, all these were budgeted out of the road projects fund, and recommend approval of this contract with Scotty's. Again, Greg Meredith is here to answer any of your questions about this projects.
Comments? Call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Municipal Order 2020, 26.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting the purchase of in-car cameras for the police department from Cobain Technologies Incorporated of Houston, Texas, and the purchase of related equipment in the amount of $129,110.
Second.
Nash, second by Denning. Mr. Mizel.
This was a sole source, given that we are already using these cameras with Coban, and I think everything's pretty self-explanatory, and recommending using this sole source recommendation to purchase these in-car systems. And I believe police is here. Deputy Chief Bowles, Assistant Chief Harrell is here to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020, number 27.
Municipal order authorizing renewal of bid number 2017-37, with the exception of Group H for ballistic wear for the police department uniforms, from CMS Uniforms and Equipment Company Incorporated of Nashville, Tennessee, Galls LLC of Lexington, Kentucky, and Nats Outdoor Sports of Bowling Green, Kentucky.
So moved. Second.
By Perigin, second by Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
This is another police-related item pertaining to police equipment. We have contracts in existence with 3 different companies to supply us with police gear, police uniforms. Those 3 are CMS, Galls, and Nats. This would be I think a third-year extension. All three companies have agreed to lock their prices in for one more year with us, and so we are recommending that we accept that offer and continue to purchase from these three companies for one more year, and I believe next year might be the year we would bid these out again, if that's correct. I think that is correct. So recommending just extending these three with CMS goals. Nats will be back to you again with the other Group H on the ballistic wear at a later date. So again, Deputy Chief Bowles, Assistant Chief Harrell are here to answer any questions.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020, number 28.
Municipal order approving recommendation from the Bowling Green Area Convention and Visitors Bureau to distribute $35,000 of transient room taxes to the National Corvette Museum.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Perigin, second by Denning. Mr. Mizel.
Years ago, the city decided to allow CVB to allocate out from their special tourism project fund monies to go toward attraction, new developments to attract more tourism to the community. They have a project before us tonight. Mrs. Sherry Murphy is here, and I'd like to ask her to come up and present her project and what they plan to do.
Thank you.
Introduce who you brought to.
Sorry, what was that?
Introduce who you brought with you as well.
I brought Katie Ellison and Mitch Wright. Katie's with the museum and Mitch is with the Motorsports Park. And they're here to answer any specific questions that you have because I don't know all the details of the project, which is probably a good thing. But they came before our board a couple of months ago to ask for funds, $35,000 for this project. We thoroughly reviewed what they had submitted. We feel like it's a great addition to the product that we have here in Bowling Green, Warren County for our tourists. We feel like it'll add to the attraction of our area. It's essentially a crawl course. I know that you all have probably seen it on different TV shows where they're going very low speeds over very huge boulders. So essentially that's what we're talking about creating. Do you all have any questions for us?
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about what that is. And is it going to be at the Motorsports Park?
Yes, it will be at the park itself on the back side. At the end of the parking lot is where it will start over in that area.
So you can go and rent your vehicle or do you bring your own, or how does this work?
You can bring your own and take it for a spin, I guess is how you would call that, or at least a slow crawl. Mitch, did you want to add anything to kind of help visualize exactly what it is we're talking about?
Just imagine a bunch
Well, come on up to the microphone so everybody can hear you. I'm an old man. I'm
We
deaf.
want the community to know what you're
Just
ready to-
imagine a bunch of obstacles, logs, boulders, old, big, giant construction drain pipes. That's the sort of thing that these four-wheel drive enthusiasts, that basically we create a challenging course that they can literally crawl over. And so that's what we're in the process of putting together.
So the vehicles are actually four-wheel drive. They're not UTVs, ATVs, or those kinds of things?
No, we're not doing anything with ATVs.
That's
Or
what I was-
it's four-wheel drive vehicle, Jeeps, small pickups, that sort of thing.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Other questions?
Just to be clear, the source of this money is the transit room tax. It's just a carve out for these special projects.
Please call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020-29.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of a grant application for funding through the 2020 Community-Oriented Policing Services Hiring Program from the U.S. Department of Justice in an amount up to $500,000.
So moved.
Second.
By Perigin, second by Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
You all will recall back last year, I think we mentioned to you a SAFER grant, which was for the fire department. We're coming to you tonight with what we call a COPS grant. It's called Community Oriented Policing Services Hiring Program. This works similar to what the SAFER grant did. It helps us, would help us pay for additional policemen. And so this is through the Department of Justice. Grant funds would be for salary and benefit cost of 4 police officers over a 3-year period. The way the money or the grant is set up, it would be a 56% match on our part, and then the feds would pay for the 44%. So it would be a 44-56 split. We believe the total cost would be around $1,130,454 over the 3-year period, and our portion would be $630, but we would capture. The 44% would be somewhere between the $1,130,000 and the $630. So we would capture somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 in grant funding to cover cost of the police officers. So that this is a 56-44% split. Chief Hawkins is here to answer any question you might have on this grant. Again, Nick Cook has also been heavily involved with this, pursuing this grant for the COPS program.
Pressure at all, Nick.
Yeah. Don't let us down, Nick.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020, number 30.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application for Homeland Security grant funds through the Federal Emergency Management Agency Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program in an amount up to $92,528 for the purchase of fitness equipment for the fire department.
Moved.
Second.
Motion by Nash, second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
As you can see, Nick has been busy. This is another grant application that we were going after for the firefighters. This would help with purchase fitness equipment. It's a really good split. It's a 90-10 split. We would only have to have a 10% match, which would total about $9,200. The firefighters are in need of replacing some fitness equipment in all of their stations. Most of their equipment was hand-me-down from parks 10, 15 years ago, and it's getting to end of its useful life. So we would take this $92,000 and put that towards the purchase of some equipment, especially some equipment for the new station and replacement at the other 6 stations we have. A lot of this is for strength and endurance, cardio level, consistent tests with their job, make sure they're meeting their job task requirements, and capable of performing all their duties. So again, we recommend applying for this grant through the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program. Nick is here to answer any question you might have.
Comments or questions?
And I believe Chief Gillum is here too. There he is.
Yeah. Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020, number 31.
Municipal order approving aircraft rescue and firefighting services agreement between the City of Bowling Green and the Bowling Green Warren County Regional Airport Board.
Second.
Motion by Nash, second by Denning. Mr. Mizel.
I'm going to take a stab at this. I'm going to let Deputy Chief Gillum kind of fill in the gaps that I missed. But basically, our airport is what they call an Index A airport. It's to service airplanes up to 90 feet in length. We did have a piece of equipment out there that would service bigger planes. It was a 1983 fire apparatus that had the foam that would put out the jet fuel fires if there were any. That piece of equipment is, as you know, close to 40 years old, and it is no longer functioning. It failed a pump test, failed some other things. It's leaking, tires need replacing. We would have to spend about $35,000 to get it back in operation. This is kind of an airport responsibility, so the airport has chosen not to do that at this time. Therefore, we have had to back down on our response to any service out there. So this new agreement that Gene and Chief Colson and Deputy Chief Gillum have worked on outlines our new responsibilities to any fires at the airport, any coverage for flights coming in and out, and that's gotten to us to this point. And it's where we're only responsible for Index A flights, which we have the equipment available at the airport station to service. Any change in this setup would have to come back before you guys. Any future amendments, that's in Section 7 of this agreement. If they were to buy a piece of equipment, we would have the ability to go in and meet with them and say yay or nay. Yes, we can work with this piece of equipment. It is up to standard, and we would redo this agreement to take on the Index B type flights. And I'll ask Deputy Chief Gillum to cover anything I missed. Chief, you got anything? Okay. Any questions?
Any
Yes.
questions or comments for Mr. Gillum?
I have a question.
Sure.
So what you're saying is that if a larger plane comes in, and the sort of example you give in the memo here is when WKU sporting events sometimes have a larger flight come in,
Ma'am.
that they don't have the apparatus to respond to it, and we, based on this agreement, will not respond to it either until they get equipment that can respond if there is a situation related to a bigger flight like that?
That's a great question. Yes, we actually do not have the capability to respond to the larger aircraft, anything that's Index B or above. However, the air carriers can opt to still land here as long as they know that we have limited capabilities, and they would be taking on that responsibility of their own. So we would not be able to support a larger aircraft. However, we would still provide what firefighting capabilities we could based on what equipment we have.
But we
Does that make
used to
sense?
have an apparatus that could respond to bigger.
Yes, ma'am. The way that the equipment requirements work for Index, anything above Index A is the current apparatus that we have will satisfy Index A. It's a smaller, quick response vehicle. There's a couple of different ways that you can satisfy this. You can either have one apparatus that covers a lot of equipment needs, like 1,500 gallons of water with 75 gallons of foam, dry chemical extinguishers, things of that nature. It's a larger apparatus. Or you can have two apparatuses that have a portion of each. So that's how we were. That's how our operations were in service to begin with. We had the two apparatuses. Now that we've lost one, that it's really, we've lost all the capabilities because it needs a lot of repair done. And the $35,000 that was quoted was actually of the problems that we know about. That's not including some of the other things that, you know, the gremlins that kind of, surface from a 40-year-old vehicle. So to answer your question, yes, without that secondary vehicle, we can no longer effectively operate at an Index B or above. Does that explain?
Yeah. No, I'm
Okay.
yeah, I'm just, I think it would be important to have an equipment like that when larger aircraft land.
Ma'am, absolutely.
So I hope the community finds a way to make that happen.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020, number 32.
Municipal order approving and authorizing payments to AT&T and Bowling Green Municipal Utilities for relocation of utilities for Shive Lane Corridor Improvements Phase 2, and authorizing the City Law Department to negotiate the purchase of properties necessary for this project, and further authorizing appropriate city officials to execute deeds, easements, and other documents related to land purchases necessary for this project.
So moved.
Okay.
Motion by Perigin, second by Nash. Mr. Mizel.
If you've been out to Shive Lane lately, between Scottsville Road and where it meets Bell Boulevard, we are under construction. That is considered Phase 1. There will be a roundabout. That would be one of our 6 roundabouts at that intersection of Bell and Shive Lane. And so this before you tonight is Phase 2. And this is for utility relocation. We have some design work completed, and we know what utilities are going to have to be relocated, and they pertain to Spectrum, Atmos, BGMU, and AT&T. Under our franchise agreements with Spectrum and Atmos, they will do the utility relocation for free at no cost to the city. But with BGMU and AT&T, theirs is a different agreement. So we We've gotten quotes from BGMU and AT&T estimates. BGMU's estimate to perform this work is $32,377, and AT&T's estimate was $56,443. We are recommending to go ahead and accept that estimate to get this work going, and this would final design has progressed to where we know exactly where these things need to be moved to, and we'd like to get this underway if it meets your approval. Greg Meredith is here, has been working on this, and can answer any questions that you have.
Any comments or questions?
This is all in our budget for the Shive Lane extension project.
Mr. Meredith, why do we have agreements with 2 of the 4 where they absorb the costs and 2 of the 4 where we absorb the cost?
So, not a quick, simple answer for everyone. For instance, with AT&T was kind of around before roads, so we don't. And Gene might be able to speak to that better in terms of their preeminence, I guess you could say. Gene, go ahead if you would, because that one's tricky.
The best I can and confuse everybody even more so, maybe. By Kentucky's probably constitutional provisions, we do not have the legal ability to require AT&T to get a franchise to provide service, telephone service in the city. They're basically exempted by, I think it's like 1896 or something like constitutional provision, with the idea that at that time they were mandated by state law to provide telephone service statewide. So based upon their agreement to do that, they were exempted from local franchise agreements. So we do not have a local franchise agreement with them. So it's my understanding, talking to Public Works, since they are there without our permissions, we can have no ability to give permission for us to require them to move their stuff. We are obligated to pay them for that move, if that helps.
Atmos the same way?
And no, Atmos and Spectrum both have franchise agreements with us. We have language in their franchise agreement. If they move, they pay. It's BGMU's yellow one that does not. And we do not have a franchise agreement with them either. They just are, that's us.
Wonder if we have anybody on the board who might help us with that.
I don't know, it probably should have been taken care of when the previous board member was there, right? Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, municipal order 2020-33.
Municipal order approving construction and accepting maintenance of Aspen Place subdivision.
So moved.
Second?
Perigin, second by Nash. Mr. Mizel.
This is the subdivision that ended up being the byproduct of the Smallhouse Road, Cave Mill rerouting of the intersection. And we have been requested to accept this as under the city. And planning and zoning has gone out and done their inspection. City staff has completed their inspection back in February. And everything met requirements. Improvements have been completed and are in compliance with existing standards. We're looking at 903 linear feet of roadway in Aspen Place, and recommend your approval for acceptance. Greg Meredith again is here to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, municipal order 2020-34.
Municipal order approving construction and accepting maintenance of Greystone subdivision, sections 14 and 15.
Moved.
Second.
Nash, second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel, same thing, different
Same
neighborhood?
thing. It's hard to believe we're in section 14 and 15 of Greystone, but that's really grown. But they've been inspected by planning and zoning as well as public works. We're looking at 1,064 linear feet of road and about 1,536 feet of sidewalk out there in that neighborhood, and asking for your approval to accept this portion as well. Greg again is here to answer any questions. Map is in your packet.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, municipal order 2020-35.
Municipal order approving a job development incentive program employee withholdings credit agreement with AFNI Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
I think I got motion by Perigin, second by Nash.
It's okay. I'm going to yield the floor for these next 4 items to Katie Schaller, our CFO, Assistant City Manager. She is our Job Development Incentive Manager, and we have 4 JD Job Development Incentive credits, agreements that we would like to go over with you and get your approval on. Katie?
The first one, this is with AFNI Incorporated. This particular project was presented to the Job Development Incentive Committee back in June of 2018. We're trying to clean up some of our records and get these projects ready to go final with the state, so they need our final approval on these. This would create 86 new jobs. It would have a capital investment of approximately $315,800. We would provide a 1% credit of our withholdings for that company, and that would amount to about $273,800 over a 10-year period for the company to then match a 3% that the state of Kentucky provides under the Kentucky Business Investment Program.
Questions on the AFNI project? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020-36.
Municipal order approving a job development incentive program employee withholdings credit agreement with Alpla Incorporated.
Moved.
Second.
By Nash, second by Perigin. Ms. Schaller Ward.
Again, this project was presented to the Job Development Incentive Program Committee back in July of 2018. Again, trying to clean up our records and get it ready to go for final approval by the state soon. This creates 24 new jobs with a $6.9 million capital investment. The city's 1% credit, withholdings credit over a 10-year period would provide about $78,000 to the company. This is our second incentive agreement with Alpla. The first was approved in 2013, and it created 72 jobs, and that was the initial location of that company to the city. So this is their first expansion that we provide a credit for.
Comments on the Alpla project? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning. Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020-37.
Municipal order approving a job development incentive program employee withholdings credit agreement with Bowling Green Metal Forming LLC.
Second.
Motion by Nash, second by Beasley Brown.
This would be our third incentive agreement for Bowling Green Metal Forming. Again, back in June of 2018, this project was presented to the Job Development Incentive Program Committee. We would be matching the state's 1% withholding credit, the state's 3% with our 1% for the creation of 27 new jobs with a total capital investment of $14.2 million. Over the 10-year period, that 1% withholdings credit would amount to about $134,600 back to the company.
Comments or questions on the Magna project? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, Municipal Order 2020-38.
Municipal order approving a job development incentive program employee withholdings credit agreement with Stryker Logistics.
Second.
Second by Perigin. Ms. Ward.
Again, a June 2018 project presented to the Job Development Incentive Program Committee. This project would create 50 new jobs and have a total capital investment estimated at $1.45 million. The 1% credit over a 10-year period would amount to about $93,000 for the company.
Questions on the Stryker? Yes, sir.
Mayor, I've asked this question a few times in the past. Who has the responsibility of knowing whether or not these entities has reached their goals as far as hiring the number of employees they said they're going to hire?
Under the Kentucky Business Investment Program, they have to go through the Kentucky Economic Development Cabinet. And so in that regard, it's the state that is monitoring. In order for them to receive their 3% and our 1%, they have to meet the obligations, and that includes not just the number of jobs,
but also the pay and the benefits that they're receiving. There are minimum requirements that those companies have to meet. And so the companies will not go active with us until they have been given final approval from the state to then go active for the incentive with them. And then they can start the incentive with us after they've given us notification.
So the state is responsible for looking out for the city of Bowling Green.
Yes, and they do. We actually have a company, which I won't name at this point in time, that has not met their obligation and have been suspended and currently are not receiving the state's credit or our credit.
That's the point I want to make, is that even though the state's involved, we have some responsibility too. They're utilizing our money, saying they're going to do certain things.
Yes.
And we have the responsibility to make sure they are hiring individuals within our workforce area for those jobs. And I don't think it's something that we should ever take lightly.
We do not. We also have an opportunity every so often, we do audit those companies within our own staffing, which obviously we have limited staffing available, but we do audit to make sure they are meeting the numbers. They are reporting what they're supposed to report. And depending on whether this is an initial credit or an expansion credit, there could be different jobs associated with those. And we do verify that each credit is provided to us on a separate form so that we can verify those numbers.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2020-39.
Municipal order approving and authorizing out-of-town travel expenses for City Manager Jeff Meisel to attend the 2020 Kentucky City County Management Association Winter Conference in Lexington, Kentucky.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Perigin, second by Nash. I think he's provided the receipts and the detail for you. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. The second reading of ordinance BG 2020 number 3 and for a final vote.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration, Subchapter 2-2 Board of Commissioners of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances, second reading binding.
As amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Perigin, second by Denning. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, second reading of ordinance BG 2020 number 4, also a final vote.
Ordinance rescinding interlocal cooperation agreement relating to the historic Railroad Depot. Ordinance rescinding interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Bowling Green and Warren County related to the historic Railroad Depot located at 401 Kentucky Street. Second reading binding.
So moved.
Perigin, second by Nash. Again, once we transferred the property to the Warren County, Bowling Green Warren County Economic Development Authority, it's no longer our responsibility. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson. I'll grab it.
We have an intermediate journalism class in here. How many of the students are, said, we've gone through this meeting pretty quickly. Just so that you're aware, we get a binder like this, or sometimes it comes over the internet for those who are a little more challenged than I am, but anyhow. We get a lot of background information, so we do our studying so that we don't take up everybody's time asking questions. We ask them beforehand and have a lot of material to rely on. But this is the time in the meeting where we have an opportunity for, yes, sir?
Would you mind having them stand up and introduce themselves and tell us where they're from? Wow.
You heard the man.
It's the Joe Denning Show.
Start over again. We didn't hear you.
Andrew myself, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, 21 years old.
I'm Max Chambers. I am 20 and I'm from Elizabeth, Kentucky. My name's Oliver. I'm 18 and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm Hannah Foster. I'm 19 and I'm from Corbin, Kentucky.
My name is Evan Culbertson. I'm 20 and I'm from Newport, Kentucky.
name's Nicholas Stone, and I'm from Glasgow, Kentucky.
My name is Sarah Walters. I'm 20. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm Cara Tooley. I'm from Nashville. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm 20 years old. Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Emily Davis. I'm from Rhineville, Kentucky. That's like 20 minutes from Fort Knox, for reference.
I'm Thomas Modesto. I'm 22, and I'm from Washington, D.C.
Go back over here where we left it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Taylor Osbergs. I'm from Bowling Green. Hi, my name's Rebecca Ham. I'm from Campbellsville, Kentucky, and I'm a graduate student at Western. I'm Olivia Marshall. I'm from Fort Mitchell, Kentucky.
My name is Jack Dobbs. I'm from Franklin, Kentucky. And I'm Madison Bouvier. I'm 20. I'm from Northbrook, Kentucky. My name is Jack Fenn. I'm 19. I'm from Western Kentucky. My name is Nick Geezer, 21, from Nashville.
I'm Chloe Speaks. I'm from Berea, Kentucky. I'm 20 years old.
I'm Tyler Mansfield, 20, from right here in Bowling Green.
My name's Haley Moore. I'm 24. I'm from here in Bowling Green. I'm Whitney Byler. I'm 25, and I'm from Elton, Kentucky.
Todd County.
Thank you very much. Had 3 hometown people. Appreciate it. Thank y'all. We have the time at every meeting for people to make public comments. And we ask that you come to the microphone at this point and identify yourselves. And if you would, come on up. I guess, Mr. Sullivan, you're first. Yes, sir.
Represent a group of citizens from the Glen Lily Road area where the sale of the, or I'm assuming the sale of the landfill, but there's currently a lease we're aware of in process. We
You
had a
bring the
public-
mic toward you a little, please. There you go.
We had a public meeting last night, and we gathered the residents in the effort to sign a petition. We have 188 signatures that are opposing the lease and possible sale regarding the property known as the landfill at 5301 Glen Lily Road for the following reasons. The first one is the traffic concerns. It's a narrow roadway, there's no center line, and that we feel like that it's just not capable of handling the type of traffic that this event is going to bring upon us. The second reason is noise concerns to the community. Obviously, that's going to be a loud noise-making venture that's going to be disruptive to the residents of that area. Third is disturbance of the landfill, and we understand that that's not supposed to be affected, but too late when it's done. So we have concerns that there could be some disturbance. Fourth is rezoning of the property if it is up for sale. We think that's a concern. Risk associated with that many people socializing in one place, and it's my understanding the lease says no alcohol is allowed, but if it sells, if there's other events, et cetera, then there's always the concern that we'd have issues that would do an increased demand on our emergency services, all police, fire, and EMS. And then finally, we think it will have a negative impact on our property values within that area. So those are all legitimate concerns, I think, that we have in regards to this venture that the city may have entered in with the folks, the developers of Powerplex Sports. We had a really good showing last night. We had a few that were there to represent or at least stand for the park, but by far the majority far stood out. We appreciate Mr. Nash showing up and allowing us to pose a few questions. And we would like to have more detail regarding either the lease and or sale of the property. What has the EPA said, if there is any information that can be shared regarding the condition of the landfill, who owns the landfill, who will maintain the landfill, what's the status of it? Is it up for sale? Where are we in this process?
The question you're posing to us tonight.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I
Can we,
understand. Go ahead.
let me stop this here. Right now, what's happened is that we have leased that property for an event in May. The lease is already in place. The protections with regard to the landfill are being worked out with Ms. Wiltshire, who is here, who is former Kentucky Secretary for the Environmental Protection Cabinet. There's been no decision on making a sale of the property. I think I covered it there.
Okay, but so is it up for sale, I guess would be, can we confirm
don't
that
buy
or not? Or
landfills.
are they trying to, yeah, I don't understand why anybody
They've
would
been
want to buy a landfill. That makes no sense to me. But
They've made the request to acquire the property from us, and we're considering that. So your petition is timely, and that we'll put that into.
Okay, so
into
we're happy to
place.
present that petition that represents opposition of the neighborhood, by the neighborhood of the sale.
May I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Has the potential operators, have they had an opportunity to
Not
talk
been
to
in
you?
touch. We understand that that was a condition of the lease, and we have not heard from them. There has been some comments on social media where Josiah Head, goes by Cy Head, and I have commented back and forth, but nothing official, nothing to reach out to us or in any formal fashion of any kind like that. So,
Mr. Mayor, I went house to house for 3 days, knocking on doors and putting out flyers for this event. And if I talked to 250 people, 246 had no idea about this. And one thing that I learned about our community up there at this time was not only are we talking about these concerns that we have, but there's a human factor involved in this also. There's a lot of retired, elderly, disabled people that live right there where this is going. It's going to cause undue hardship and stress on them also. There's generations of families that have lived there and land handed down from generation to generation that have enjoyed relative peace and quiet and tranquility that they feel is going to be, and I feel is going to be taken away from them if this continues.
to clarify, I think he said they had no idea. They probably had knowledge of it, but had not been reached out to by any of the gentlemen from the Powerplex.
I understand there'll be some that really did have absolutely no idea out of that crowd
Yes,
too.
there
so.
absolutely was some.
Okay.
But,
You have the petition?
None of us have been officially reached out to, other than the comments some of us have had on social media back and forth with these individuals. We feel like, one of the comments that I had with Mr. Head was it was his intention to reach out to us after it was 100%. Well, to us, that's a little late. You know, the deal's done and we don't have a lot of opportunity to oppose if we so choose. So we're trying to be proactive and step up ahead of time and take care of matters now. So.
If you have the petition with you, we'll be happy to accept that. If you leave it with the clerk and she'll make copies for us.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Yeah, I guess for Chief Hawkins.
Sir.
Chief, whose responsibility at that section that we are talking about here for that road? Is it the county? Is it ours?
The roadway itself is in the county. We obviously are the owners of the private property that the landfill resides on. Somebody could tell me the acreage, I don't know, but that parcel of property owned by the city is in the county limits. The only time we would be directly involved in police activity either on that property or adjacent in the roadways is during this event. That's not typically our primary jurisdiction for policing. We don't go out there. We don't keep an eye on that piece of property. Typically, we rely on the county sheriffs or the state police to respond to any incidences out there. Any interest we would have in law enforcement was directly related to this event that was planned for May only.
If I can clarify something, the intersection is Price Chapel Road and Glen Lily Road. Glen Lily Road, it's my understanding, is a state-owned and operated road. Price Chapel is a county road, so it's right there at that intersection that we would come to. So there's other than county interest here. If there's damage to state roads, and there's a cost to the state. If there's damage to county roads, and there's a cost to the county. If there's damage to city property and a cost to the city, I think all of that factors in as we think this through.
Well, I was asking the question pertaining to the enforcement, whether it be state police, whether it be sheriff. I didn't think we would be involved in enforcing anything there unless it was directly on our property.
I've briefly skimmed the lease. I don't have firsthand total information, but what I did see is that the individuals, the developers of this project, are responsible for security of the event. It doesn't mean that relieves the sheriff's office or the state police of probably responding to any acts that require their intervention, but in this particular instance, I know they are responsible for security, at least at a minimum.
What I understand from the chief is we'll respond to that piece of property, but not to the ones outside of that, but they're responsible for their own internal security for the project. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Allison Carlisle.
Hi, I'm Allison Carlisle. I'm speaking on the same issue related to hearing from them. By roadway, the house I reside in is exactly 1.5 miles by road from the entrance of the landfill, and I was not contacted in any way by these folks. If you go overland, as the crow flies, it's a little less than a mile. So I'm definitely within their contact radius. And the first time I found out about it, beyond reading a blurb in the Daily News, was when they stopped by and left a flyer on the door. So this group has made no attempt to present their side of this incident, of this lease, and what the benefits to us as neighbors of it would be. The first I was hearing about it was through their actions through that petition and talking to Commissioner Nash last night. This morning, he provided me with a copy of the lease, and I have a lot of questions about whether or not the city is entered in good faith with this entity. For one thing, the lease is only supposed to be for 2 days, for the 16th and the 17th. However, with the provisions that they can go onto the land before then to get ready for the event, however, it's been advertised as starting on the 15th, which is outside the length of the lease. They're also advertising events that happen on June 7th and September 6th at the same location. They're even going as far as saying one of the main complaints they encountered yesterday was regarding the traffic on 2 very narrow country roads. I saw where one of their responses to that is that they're going to build a new interchange on Natcher for it, which that's not even the name of the road anymore. It's now I-165. So I question whether they're putting in the research to know what their capabilities are, what their abilities are, and the city is prepared to take on any liability that occurs because of what they're doing on what, at least at the moment, is city property. Another thing related to that is conditions of the lease are that they are able to do any improvements on the land that they see fit. I saw an interview with one of the people saying that they are planning on doing $500,000 worth of improvements on the land before this event occurs in May, when it is still city property, but you guys only have them bonded for $1,000 of damage. And they're responsible for cleaning all this up and getting this land back to the condition it was before they leased it. So they're going to spend $500,000 to build this race course. And then supposedly in 45 days, which is June 30th from the last day of the event, they're going to have it back to the way it is right now. With looking the way it was, feeling the way it was, everything. And so I just wonder what the steps are forward for us to ensure that they are going by the state of their lease.
I'm going to have to cut you off on your time. We have a 3-minute limit, but if you have more information that you have, looks like you have written down, if you'd be happy to give that to us. And those are the details that the attorneys would be working out to ensure that the city was protected as well as the neighborhood. So I don't have any of those answers for you.
So just a quick question would be, is this something that will come before you guys again?
For the lease, no. The lease was voted on last month. If we were to we were to convey the property, it would have to come back for a vote. And if it were to be rezoned, then it would have to come to the Warren Fiscal Court for a vote if we were to convey it.
Mayor,
Yeah.
the lease was specifically for the month of May, nothing else.
It's 2 days.
2 days in May.
I was given a copy of the lease. The lease specifically says it is for May 16th and 17th.
That's correct.
So it is not the month of May, it is for one event, but these people are planning
Right. So
Disneyland as they say.
And if you have those items bullet pointed for us, you're welcome to leave those for us, and we'll go on to the next next speaker. Thank you.
Can she email them to the city clerk, Mayor?
That's true. You're welcome to do that if you don't have them written up tonight. If you could email to the city clerk.
Okay, thank you.
And is it Corey Felts?
Good evening. My name is Corey Felts. 47 years old. I've resided in this county for 33 years. Out of those 33 years, 26 was spent in the service of our nation. These folks have received 188 signatures upon their petition. Of those 188 people, of those of us that live within a mile and a half of this proposed location, 36% of us are veterans. We live out there for the peace and quiet that we currently enjoy. I believe there's been some confusion upon what has been presented and what is being proposed. There seems to be a lot of focus on this singular activity, this GNCC motorsports event, and yet they're advertising for long-term events and camping and music and so forth. I realize people have the right to make a living and do what it is that makes them happy, but it should not impede upon the happiness of those of us who have settled here. I'm neighbors with these gentlemen in the back. My brother lives across the street from me. My brother is also a disabled veteran. He has TBI. He's got a plate in his head. He can't handle loud noises. The Sportsman's Club conducts their activities on the weekends and shoots. We have to take him elsewhere. Now, during these events, now it's going to be a hardship to remove him for the entire duration of a weekend, so my brother can have peace of mind and I don't have to worry about him harming himself because of this, because of the noise and what it does. I ask for careful consideration of the city commissioners and city manager in any further leasing of this leasing of these grounds to these type of activities, particularly when these persons are saying that they're already planning other events down the road for lease periods that haven't even been brought forward yet. So they're advertising for things that aren't covered yet. And look for alternative solutions for this 200 plus acres out Glen Lily Road, campgrounds, that type of thing. You know, something that if it's truly for economic development, let's make it fiscally smart for everyone involved, not just a small percentage of our population who enjoys these type of activities. That's what I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Felt.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the last one I have on the agenda. Our next scheduled meeting is March 17th, 2020. We'll be going into closed session, but if any of the students had any questions they wanted to cover, we'll give you a couple of minutes to come up and get that taken care of. Thank you for tuning in.